Okay, let's change around our example a little bit here. Instead of doing cat age, we're going to do some events, and we want to do that by picking different cats. So the first thing that we're going to take a look at is kind of changing out our default page once again. So as you already know, routes plus page is our only page that we're working with in our Svelte examples. And so we're going to take and change out this cat age for a new Svelte component. So I'm just going to copy kitten and then paste it. And then we're going to call this the kitten picker. Okay, so now that we're in kitten picker, what we'll actually do here is leave our source and name so that we have some default values. But instead of all of this, we'll actually use our component for kitten. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in kitten. And then the source, as you know, we can just leave as source and then name. And this has the import that already came in. So now we have kitten. So at that point, our kitten picker, let's go ahead and put on our plus page. So we have kitten picker. And as you can see, as soon as I saved, we get our default cat at this point. So our kitten picker, we want to actually include some buttons so that we can select. I won't put you through the agony of all of this, but let's check out the first button just to start with. So I'm going to put these in a div, and then on button, we have just a new button called kitten A. So if we take a look at that, we have our kitten A that we can then click and do things with. Of course, in JavaScript, what we would have to do is something like create a new ID, name this kitten button, and then we would have to associate it. So we'd have to do like document.query select, and then ID kitten button, and then we would have to add an event listener to this, and all kinds of things. So what this essentially represents is a click at this point that you would then pass the event through and do some things with. And then you would have to remember to click to clean all of this up and things like that. So that's how you would normally do this in JavaScript. It's pretty complicated and one of the most painful things. So instead of doing that, what we can do is events in Svelte. So we don't need the ID anymore. Instead, we need an on-click, on::click. Notice in React and other things you would use like on::click as a method. Here we can just say on::click, and we're going to create a new function. So in our new function, we're going to call this select kitten. And I'm just going to hurry up and type all this out for us. So using our new function, select kitten, we're going to pass in a new source and new alt into this function so that we can update our source and name. So on our click method here, we're going to set up another function, and then we're going to select kitten. And I have some kittens laid out here, so let me grab those. Now I have a select kitten with the new source and new alt set up. You'll notice here I'm getting some errors, and this is because I forgot to put lang equals ts. So let's make sure we're working in TypeScript, so always put that, and this is defining the types coming into our function so that we have type safety. So now when we have our kitten, we have our on::click event. It's going to select the kitten and update both the source as well as the name. So there you go, we have kitten A. So now I'm going to include a few more buttons just so you can see how this would work. Okay, now that we have all our buttons, it's always going to default back to our original source and name. And as I click these kittens, they should change out based on the source that's defined. Now, any DOM event, you can use the on keyword, and then you can use that as the event. So if you wanted to do something like on drag or drag end, on input, all of this stuff, you can then pass in the appropriate JavaScript that you would want to execute for that event. Something else to call out is the modifiers for events. So something that's very useful for forms and things, if you're using a button like this, you can put a pipe and then you can say once. So before I put that, let's check this out. So I can go kitten A, kitten B, kitten A, kitten B, okay? Now if I put once on here, now I can go kitten A, kitten B, Kitten A will never let me fire that again. So it's only expecting that to be sent one time. Now there's some other nice modifiers in here, especially for mobile. So if there's things like passive and you want scrolling and you don't want that to be an issue, it's not meant for the on-click as it's telling us, but those are the kind of things that if you want to do like mouse pointers and stuff like that, you want them to passively be looking at that. You don't want to slow down the actual thread on that. So you can check all of those out in the documentation. And that is events, the very brief side of events.